The emergency lights flashed red across the bridge of the collective's flagship as Commander Tom gripped his control panel. His thin, pale fingers trembled slightly as another blast rocked the ship. The Shadowclaw Empire's warships had appeared from nowhere, tearing through their peaceful exploration fleet like paper. "Shields at 20%, called out the sensor operator, her silvery skin reflecting the warning lights. "We cannot take another direct hit." Tom's 4 hearts beat rapidly as he assessed their situation. The Bright Star Collective had never faced such aggression in their centuries of peaceful exploration. Their ships, designed for scientific research and diplomatic missions, were no match for the Empire's war machines. "Jump drive charging," reported the navigation officer. "But we need 2 minutes to calculate a safe route." Another blast shook the ship. Tom watched in horror as one of their escort vessels exploded, its fragments scattering across the void of space. The Shadowclaw ships, massive black shapes against the starfield, moved with predatory grace as they closed in for the kill. "We don't have 2 minutes," Tom muttered. He made a decision that went against every safety protocol in their manual. "Random jump. Get us out of here, anywhere." The navigation officer's eyes widened. "Sir, that's extremely dangerous. We could end up inside a star or better than certain death here. Do it now." The familiar sensation of a jump drive activation washed over the crew, a slight tingling in their outer membranes as space itself bent around their ships. The stars blurred, stretched, and then snapped back into focus. They had escaped, but to where? "Damage report," Tom ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. "Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, sealed automatically. Life support stable. Jump drive needs 40 minutes to recharge." The technical officer paused. "Sir, we've lost contact with the Sunseeker and the Stardancer. Only the Lightbringer made the jump with us." Tom allowed himself a moment of grief for their lost ships before focusing on their current situation. "Where are we?" The navigation officer worked his controls, then froze. "Sir, that can't be right. These readings must be wrong." "Explain." "We're in an unexplored system, about 12,000 light-years from our last position. But," he hesitated, "there's a planet ahead that's registering as impossible." Tom moved to look at the sensor readings himself. His membrane paled as he processed the data. These gravity readings, the atmospheric composition, the temperature variations. This is a Class 12 world. The bridge crew fell silent. Class 12 worlds were considered theoretical, planets so hostile and extreme that complex life simply couldn't evolve there. Yet as they approached the blue-green world ahead of them, their sensors detected something even more impossible. "Sir," the sensor operator's voice shook, "I'm detecting artificial satellites, thousands of them, and radio signals. There's intelligent life down there." "Impossible," Tom whispered, but the evidence was right in front of him. "Show me visual." The main screen lit up with images of the planet's surface. Cities sprawled across landscapes that should have been too hostile for any civilization to survive. Flying machines soared through the toxic oxygen-rich atmosphere. Ground vehicles moved across the crushing 1G gravity field as if it was nothing. "Look at these readings," the science officer said in awe. "Temperature variations from -50 to +50 degrees in the same regions. Extreme weather patterns. Active geological activity. Fatal radiation levels from their star. And yet they thrive," Tom finished. He watched as more data poured in, showing a civilization that had not just survived, but mastered their death world. The Shadowclaw Empire would follow them. They had perhaps days before the hunters found their trail again. Tom knew they needed help, and these death world inhabitants might be their only hope. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Let's hope these beings are friendlier than their planet." The meeting room felt like torture to Commander Tom and his diplomatic team. The humans had adjusted the environment to what they called room temperature, but it felt like a blast furnace to the aliens. Even worse was the crushing gravity that made every movement an effort. Yet their hosts seemed perfectly comfortable. Jack, the human representative, sat across the table looking completely at ease. He wore what they called a business suit, and occasionally sipped from a cup of steaming liquid that would have burned the membranes off any member of the collective. "So," Jack said, setting down his cup of coffee, "you're telling me there's an aggressive empire heading toward Earth, and you need our help?" He didn't seem worried. If anything, he looked interested. Tom tried to focus despite the oppressive conditions. "Yes, the Shadowclaw Empire has never been defeated. They've conquered 3 sectors in the past year alone. We barely escaped them." "And why did you come to us specifically?" Jack asked, though his slight smile suggested he already knew the answer. Before Tom could respond, the building's emergency alarm began blaring. Red lights flashed, and a voice announced a fire in the East Wing. Tom and his team immediately began to panic, their survival instincts screaming at them to flee the Deathworld's latest threat. But Jack just sighed and pressed a button on the table. "Is anyone hurt?" he asked calmly. "No, sir," came the reply. "Just a small kitchen fire. The chef was trying to make that alien dish you requested. Fire's already out, no structural damage." Jack turned back to the stunned aliens. "Sorry about that. Where were we?" Tom's translator struggled to form words. You're not evacuating. Fire is one of the most devastating forces in the galaxy." "Oh, that." Jack chuckled. "That was nothing. Look, let me show you something." He stood up and walked to a large window, gesturing for them to follow. "See that over there?" The aliens wobbled to their feet, fighting against Earth's gravity. Through the window, they saw humans in strange outfits running into a burning building. "That's our fire department's training facility," Jack explained. "Those people voluntarily go into burning buildings. In fact, they compete to see who can do it best. We call it a firefighting competition." The aliens watched in horror as humans emerged from the flames carrying heavy weights, then went back in for more. Some were practicing rescue techniques in full gear under the scorching sun, seemingly unbothered by the heat that was making Tom's team dizzy even from inside the air-conditioned building. "And that over there," Jack pointed to another area, "is a military training course. Standard stuff. Really, every recruit has to complete it." Tom's second heart nearly stopped as he watched humans climbing ropes, crawling under razor wire, and jumping over walls, all while carrying heavy equipment. The gravity alone should have made such feats impossible, yet they moved with practiced ease. "I don't understand," one of Tom's scientists said. "Your world, everything here should be lethal. The gravity, the temperature ranges, the atmospheric pressure, the predators, the natural disasters. How do you not just survive, but thrive?" Jack smiled. "This is just normal for us. In fact, many humans find office work more challenging than physical tasks. We get restless without some form of physical activity." He paused, considering something. "Would you like to see our recreational activities?" "You mean you do more than this? For fun?" Tom asked weakly. "Oh yes, we have something called extreme sports. Mountain climbing, deep sea diving, skydiving." Jack noticed the aliens' membranes turning pale. "But perhaps we should save that for another day. Let's focus on your Empire problem." He pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's defense capabilities. "We've never encountered alien threats before, but we've spent our entire history preparing for them. And if these Shadowclaw ships are as vulnerable to heat, gravity, and pressure as you are," his smile turned predatory, "well, let's just say they're in for a surprise." Tom looked at his team, seeing his own realization mirrored in their expressions. They had fled to Earth looking for refuge, but they had found something far more valuable. Warriors born from the crucible of a death world, who treated as sport what other species considered impossible. The alien delegation stared at the screen in stunned silence as they watched humans fight each other in what they called mixed martial arts. Tom's scientific officer had to look away when one human slammed another into the ground with enough force to shatter an alien's bones. "And this is," Entertainment? Tom asked, his voice shaking. One of our oldest sports, Jack explained, seeming completely unbothered by the violence. But that's nothing. Let me show you something from a place called Australia. The screen changed to show humans handling creatures that Tom's database identified as some of the most venomous life forms in the galaxy. The humans weren't even wearing protective suits. That's Steve, Jack said proudly. He was famous for wrestling crocodiles. Lots of people thought he was crazy, but he just really loved animals. Tom's translator choked. Loved them. He fought them for survival. No, Jack laughed. He wasn't fighting them. He was helping them. Relocating them to safer areas, giving them medical treatment. He did it to protect them. The aliens exchanged confused looks. A species that treated combat with apex predators as a conservation effort was beyond their understanding. The briefing continued as Jack showed them human military history. The aliens learned about ancient warriors who fought with metal blades, armies that marched across entire continents, and battles fought in conditions that would kill most species instantly. Here's footage from our Special Forces training, Jack said, switching to a new video. This is basic winter survival training. The aliens watched as humans trudged through deep snow, built shelters from ice, and swam in freezing water. Their bodies somehow kept functioning in temperatures that should have caused instant death. How do you survive the cold? One of the scientists asked. Oh, that's not even that cold, Jack replied casually. We have people who swim in Arctic waters for fun. They call it polar plunging. Want to see? Tom quickly raised his hand. Perhaps we should focus on your military capabilities. The Shadowclaw Empire will be here soon. Right, Jack nodded, pulling up military statistics. Well, we've never fought an alien war, but we've gotten pretty good at fighting each other. These are some of our basic weapons. The screen filled with images of human warfare. The aliens were shocked to learn that humans had weaponized almost everything they discovered. They had weapons that used sound, light, electricity, and even the crushing pressure of their own atmosphere. Most impressive, Tom admitted, but the Shadowclaw have energy shields and plasma weapons. Jack grinned. Interesting. Tell me, how do their shields handle extreme temperature changes? Or rapid pressure fluctuations? Or maybe good old-fashioned kinetic impact? I don't know, Tom realized. No one had ever asked these questions before. Most species tried to match the Empire's technology, not exploit its basic weaknesses. You see, Jack continued, living on Earth taught us to think differently. When you can't breathe the air half the time, or the ground keeps shaking, or the weather tries to kill you every other day, you learn to adapt, to improvise. He pulled up a new display showing Earth's variable terrain. We have troops trained for every environment imaginable. Desert warfare, Arctic combat, jungle fighting, urban combat, underwater operations, mountain warfare, and even zero-gravity training. Tom watched as human soldiers demonstrated their skills, moving effortlessly through environments that his species would consider unsurvivable. They didn't just cope with the hostile conditions, they used them as weapons. Our planet tried to kill us every day of our evolution, Jack explained, his voice serious for the first time. We didn't just survive. We learned to thrive in conditions that would break most species. And now, he smiled again, but there was steel in it. Now we're going to teach the Shadowclaw Empire why you don't threaten a Deathworld species. Looking at the countless ways humans had mastered their lethal environment, Tom finally felt something he hadn't experienced since the Empire attacked. Hope. The massive Shadowclaw warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Their black hulls absorbed the distant sunlight, making them look like moving holes in space. The Empire's fleet was 10 times larger than the force that had chased the collective ships. In Earth's military command center, Admiral Maria watched the enemy ships appear on the long-range sensors. Unlike the anxious aliens beside her, she remained calm. She had spent 30 years preparing Earth's defenses for exactly this kind of threat. Look at them. sneered the Shadowclaw commander's hologram as it flickered to life above the command table. "Hiding behind primitive Deathworld savages. How desperate you've become, Collective." Tom started to speak, but Admiral Maria stepped forward. "This is Admiral Maria of Earth's United Defense Force. You are entering restricted space. Withdraw immediately." The Shadowclaw commander laughed, the sound harsh and grating. "You speak to us as equals. Your species still lives on a single world. You haven't even mastered basic plasma technology." "This is your final warning," Maria replied, her voice steady. "Leave, or we will remove you." The alien commander's amusement turned to anger. "You dare threaten the Empire? We will make an example of your world. Our ships will." Maria cut the transmission with a tap of her finger. Well, they'd made their choice. Time to show them why you don't pick a fight with Deathworlders. She turned to her staff. "Execute Defense Plan Delta. And someone get me a coffee. This might take a while." The Shadowclaw ships moved closer, their formation perfect after centuries of unopposed victories. They expected Earth's primitive defenses to crumble before their advanced technology. They didn't expect what happened next. "Launch weather control satellites," Maria ordered. "Let's give them a taste of Earth's hospitality." Hundreds of small satellites activated around the planet. The aliens watched in confusion as Earth's upper atmosphere began to change. Massive storm systems formed with impossible speed, creating magnetic disturbances that their sensors couldn't penetrate. "What is this?" the Shadowclaw commander demanded as his ship's sensors went dark. "Some kind of primitive smokescreen." Then the storms hit. Lightning bolts bigger than anything the aliens had ever seen struck their ships. The electrical discharge overwhelmed their shields, which were designed to stop energy weapons, not natural phenomena. "Interesting," Maria noted, watching the enemy ships struggle. "Their shields don't handle multiple types of attack very well." Launch Phase 2. Earth's defense platforms came to life. Instead of energy weapons, they fired simple tungsten rods. The massive metal spears were accelerated by gravity and magnetic drives to incredible speeds. The Shadowclaw ships' weakened shields couldn't stop the pure kinetic force. "Impossible," Tom gasped as he watched the mighty Empire ships being damaged by what his people would consider primitive weapons. "You're not even using advanced technology." "We don't need to," Maria explained, taking a sip of her coffee. "We learned long ago that simple solutions often work best. Like those rods, we call them rods from God. Just basic metal and gravity, but at those speeds, they hit harder than any plasma weapon." The Shadowclaw fleet began to retreat, their perfect formation broken. Several ships were already crippled, their hulls breached by weapons they had never expected to face. "Should we pursue?" asked Maria's second-in-command. She shook her head. "Not yet. Let them run back and report. Let them tell the Empire exactly what happened when they underestimated a Deathworld species." She turned to Tom with a slight smile. "Besides, this was just our orbital defense system. Wait until they meet our ground forces." Tom looked at the retreating enemy fleet, then at the calm human admiral. He realized that the Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had spent centuries conquering peaceful worlds, and now they had attacked a species that had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day. The real war hadn't even started yet. The Shadowclaw Empire wasn't used to failure. After their first defeat, they returned with an even larger fleet and launched their standard invasion protocol. Drop pods filled with their best warriors fell toward Earth's surface like metal rain. Admiral Maria watched from the command center as thousands of alien soldiers descended through Earth's atmosphere. Many pods burned up on entry. They weren't designed for a planet with such dense air. Those that survived faced an even bigger surprise: Earth's gravity. The alien warriors stumbled out of their pods, struggling to stand in the crushing gravity. Their combat armor, designed for standard worlds, worked against them here. Several collapsed under their own weight. "They're having trouble adapting to our gravity," Jack reported from the field. "Just like we expected." sending in the heavy response teams now. Tom watched in amazement as human soldiers moved across the battlefield with ease. They wore what looked like simple protective gear, nothing like the advanced armor of the Empire troops. But they didn't need it. They were born to fight in these conditions. "Look at them move," Tom whispered. "Like the gravity doesn't even affect them." "We've been training for this our whole lives," Maria explained. "Every step, every jump, every movement. It's all natural to us. Their fancy armor just weighs them down." The Shadowclaw commanders ordered their troops to push forward despite the conditions. They still outnumbered the humans, and they had never lost a ground battle. But they had never fought on a death world before. A massive storm rolled in, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. The Empire troops struggled to maintain their positions. Their energy weapons malfunctioned in the rain, and their communication systems couldn't handle the lightning. "Weather forecast shows the storm getting worse," Maria noted calmly. "Typical summer weather for this region. Deploy the mud warfare specialists." Tom had no idea what a mud warfare specialist was until he saw them in action. Human soldiers, covered in camouflage, moved through the rain-soaked ground like it was solid. They appeared and disappeared in the mud, dragging down alien soldiers who couldn't tell solid ground from deadly swamp. "This is impossible." The Shadowclaw commander's voice crackled over their captured communications. "How are they using the planet itself against us?" The answer came from all directions. Human forces had spent generations learning to use Earth's harsh conditions as weapons. Mountain troops struck from high peaks where the thin air paralyzed alien fighters. Desert units emerged from sandstorms that stripped the enemy's armor bare. Marine forces struck from the seas, using the crushing water pressure as a weapon. "We should retreat," an alien officer screamed. "This world is trying to kill us." "Now you understand," Jack's voice came over the radio. He was leading a team through what the aliens had declared an unsurvivable jungle zone. "Earth has been trying to kill us since we evolved. We learned to fight back." The Empire troops discovered that their advanced weapons meant nothing against an enemy that could drink water that would dissolve alien flesh, breathe air that would kill most species, and fight in conditions that their combat computers classified as unsurvivable. From her command center, Maria watched the Empire's ground forces crumble. "Send in the Australian Special Forces," she ordered. "Let's show them what real Death World Predator handlers can do." The aliens watched in horror as humans came riding on machines they called dirt bikes, moving at speeds that should have been lethal, jumping over obstacles that would have killed any sensible species, and they were laughing while they did it. "This isn't a war," Tom realized as he watched the battle unfold. "This is humans finally finding someone they can show everything they've learned from living on a death world. They're not just fighting the Empire. They're showing the galaxy why Earth's hostile environment created the ultimate warriors." The Shadowclaw Empire had started this war expecting an easy victory over primitive savages. Instead, they had awakened a species that had spent millions of years learning to thrive in conditions that would kill any other intelligent life. And now, humanity was teaching them exactly why that was a mistake. After defeating the Empire's ground forces, humanity decided to take the fight into space. The alien ships in orbit watched in surprise as Earth's first interstellar warships rose from the surface. They didn't look elegant or advanced. They looked tough, like machines built to survive anything. "What kind of ships are those?" Tom asked, staring at the thick hulls and heavy armor. "We call them the Thunderchild class," Admiral Maria explained. "Built to handle the worst conditions we could imagine. Hurricanes, pressure changes, extreme temperatures, just like us. They're made to survive anything." The Empire ships opened fire with their plasma weapons, expecting to easily destroy such primitive-looking vessels. Instead, the human ships pushed through the plasma like it was a light rain. Their hulls, designed to survive re-entry into Earth's crushing atmosphere, barely noticed the alien weapons. "Hull temperature rising," reported a human crew member on the lead ship. "Still within normal operating range. just like a sunny day in Death Valley. The Empire commanders panicked as their most powerful weapons failed to stop the human advance. They had never seen ships that could simply ignore plasma fire. They didn't understand that humans had built their ships the same way they built everything else, to survive conditions far worse than any weapon. "Launch the boarding teams," Maria ordered. "Show them how humans fight in space." Special Forces troops, trained in Earth's most extreme environments, launched from the human ships in what looked like primitive pods. The Empire crews laughed at first, until they realized these pods were designed to hit their ships at speeds that cracked their hulls open. "Breach teams reporting success." Jack's voice came over the radio. He was leading one of the boarding parties. "The Empire's internal gravity is set too low. Their crews can barely move while we're operating at Earth normal strength. This is almost too easy." Human soldiers, used to fighting under crushing gravity, moved through the alien ships like unstoppable forces. Empire troops found themselves thrown across rooms by beings whose muscles had developed under 3 times their normal gravity. Their advanced armor crumpled under punches from humans who could normally bend steel. "They're using projectile weapons in their own ships," and Empire commanders screamed over their comms. "The hull breaches will kill everyone. Our atmosphere is partially explosive, and we drink acid for fun," a human soldier replied. "A little vacuum doesn't scare us." The Empire fleet tried to retreat, but found another surprise waiting. Human ships had moved to cut off their escape route. The ships were arranged in what Maria called a cyclone formation, creating a trap of gravitational forces that would tear apart any ship trying to flee. "Remember what you taught us about your faster-than-light drives?" Maria asked Tom with a smile. "How they can't operate in unstable gravity fields." "We learned a lot from those briefings." Tom watched in amazement as the human ships herded the Empire fleet like predators cornering prey. The humans hadn't just learned to survive their death world. They had learned to use every deadly aspect of physics as a weapon. The Empire's mighty fleet found itself trapped between ships that ignored their weapons and boarding parties that treated lethal environments as minor inconveniences. Their crews discovered that their advanced combat training meant nothing against soldiers who treated hard vacuum like a swimming pool and crushing gravity like a gentle breeze. "Send the message to all Empire ships," Maria commanded. "They can surrender now, or learn exactly how creative humans can be when we're fighting in our element." She turned to Tom with a fierce grin. "And space is definitely our element now." The Empire commanders, watching their mighty ships fall one by one to what they had called primitives, finally began to understand. They hadn't just found another species, they had found warriors forged in the deadliest environment in known space. And now those warriors were teaching them why some planets were classified as death worlds for a very good reason. 3 months after the Empire's defeat at Earth, Commander Tom stood on the observation deck of his ship, watching human vessels patrol the space around their world. The sight still amazed him. In just a few months, humanity had gone from a single planet species to a major galactic power. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Jack asked, joining him at the window. The human was drinking his usual hot coffee, something that still made Tom's membrane twitch. "Hard to believe it's only been 3 months." The Empire had never lost a war before, Tom said quietly. "Now half their fleet is destroyed, and the other half surrendered. The galaxy will never be the same." A large ship passed by the window, one of Earth's new Thunderchild-class vessels. Its heavy armor bore scars from multiple battles, worn like badges of honor. Behind it, smaller ships darted about like fish in a stream, running patrol patterns that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully planned. "The Collective Council is meeting today," Jack mentioned. "They're discussing the new defense treaty with Earth. Admiral Maria is presenting our proposal." Tom nodded. He had seen the proposal. Earth would help protect peaceful worlds from aggression, sharing their unique combat expertise and death world survival skills. In return, other worlds would share their technology and knowledge. "Some species are still afraid of us," Jack continued. "They think we're too aggressive, too unpredictable. They don't understand that surviving on Earth taught us to value peace more, not less. A group of human engineers flew past in their work suits, repairing a satellite. They moved through the vacuum of space as easily as they moved through Earth's crushing gravity. Tom remembered when he thought such things were impossible. The Empire scientists are still trying to understand how you did it, Tom said. How you turned every deadly aspect of your world into an advantage. They can't believe you developed space travel while living on a planet that actively tried to kill you. Jack laughed. That's because they don't understand Earth. Everything that made our planet deadly made us stronger. The gravity gave us strong bones and muscles. The extreme weather taught us to adapt. The predators taught us to think tactically. The disasters taught us to work together. On a nearby screen, news reports showed human aid ships arriving at former Empire worlds. The ships carried food, medicine, and teams of Earth's disaster response experts. The same people who had defeated the Empire were now helping its former subjects rebuild. We got a message from the Deep Space Survey team, Jack said. They found 3 more death worlds with developing civilizations. The Council is worried about what will happen when those species reach space. And what did Earth say about that? Tom asked, though he already knew the answer. We volunteered to be their mentors. After all, who better to guide a young Death World species than another one? Jack grinned. We're calling it the Death World Development Program. Tom watched as more ships arrived through the newly built jump gate. Vessels from dozens of species now visited Earth freely, no longer afraid of its harsh conditions. Human engineers had already started designing environmental systems that would let other species visit their cities safely. You know what the funny thing is? Jack said, finishing his coffee. The Empire attacked because they thought we were weak. They saw our harsh world and assumed we were primitive savages. They never understood that living on a death world didn't make us violent. It made us survivors. It made us innovators. It made us teachers. Tom looked at his friend and remembered their first meeting, when he had been terrified of Earth's conditions. Now he understood what the Empire never had. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to fight, but their ability to adapt, survive, and help others do the same. As if to emphasize the point, a massive storm system swirled in Earth's atmosphere below them. Once, Tom would have seen it as a deadly danger. Now he saw it as humanity's teachers had. Another challenge to overcome, another lesson to learn, another chance to grow stronger. The galaxy was changing, and at its heart was a species that had turned their death world into a cradle of innovation and hope. The age of the Empire was over. The age of humanity had begun.